Okay, morning, folks. Welcome to the briefing on Thursday, the 26th. We've still got easterly winds here, but slight change in the air mass. As you can see on the chart for midday, it shows that a cold front has gone through. Well, if you're sat on the airfield, you'll already see that that cold front has gone through here, probably in the last half an hour, 40 minutes. It's brighter to the east. The drizzle has stopped. So it's clearing through perhaps a little bit quicker than we thought, and getting flyable a little bit quicker than we anticipated behind it. It leaves us in a sort of northerly flow, although you think looking at this curve in the isobar, it would be easterly, but it's pretty much northerly down through here. Most of the forecasts are giving northerly pressure. Hasn't really dropped that much as the front went through. It's still going to be about 1,020, 1,022 today. And you can see the spacing on the isobars. Further north and east you go, and certainly east, the windier it gets, because the isobars are fairly close together out over Norfolk area. The TAFs, well, I think they might be caught out a little bit by how quickly the front's gone through, because this bit of the TAF that says between 6 and 8 UTC, 6,000 meters rain, drizzle, and 30% probability between 6 and 7 UTC, broken at 800 feet, that's already gone. And what we've got is sometime this morning between now 10, 11 o'clock becoming scattered at 2,500 feet and 360 degrees, 8 knots. So fairly breezy from the north. I'll talk about that a bit more later on in the briefing. And it's going to stay like that most of the day. You can see that's between 7 and 4 o'clock this afternoon. Upper winds down through the sort of this box here, which is down through the Norfolk coast. It's 20, 25 knots at flying heights. A little bit lighter to the west of that. Middle of the country, 10 to 12 knots, most forecasts are showing. But down to the south of us at flying heights and even over us, it'll be 15 knots. And CU and Top Meteo and other forecast models are showing the same. And it's pretty much northerly or slightly northeasterly at flying heights 010, 020. SatPic shows this is the front. This is us. It's cleared through now as of 15 minutes ago. And we're into this air here. Still quite moist to start off with. It's drawing the moisture off the North Sea. There'll be cloud in it, but that should burn off fairly quickly. And I think we're looking at a day where temperature-wise, talks about getting up to 20, 21 degrees. I'm sure in that northeasterly wind, it won't feel like that, because I looked at the Lasham weather station when the front cleared through and the temperature dropped a couple of degrees fairly quickly. So wind chill and sort of colder air, it's probably not going to feel like 21 degrees. I should be surprised if it gets to 20, certainly over us. I think that's slightly optimistic. Dew points, there were 12 or 13 around us, 11s out here earlier. They'll be down fairly low during the day, and I'm expecting them to go down to about sort of 8s and 9s over quite a large area here. If they 10 to 11, as it suggests here, or even 12s and 13s, we'd certainly see a bit more cumulus. But it's looking pretty much like it's going to be potential for blue. If you've got the dew point here of 9 to 10, then yeah, you're going to get some cumulus in here at about 4,000 feet. Any lower than that, and with 20 degrees, you're still going to get thermals up to 4 to 4,500 feet above sea level. But likelihood is blue, because the lines are fairly well spaced apart. And all the other models are suggesting that. I haven't looked at the Larkhill sounding because the early morning one would have been sat under the cold front and would be pretty useless. But there'll be one later on this morning, which we can look at and get an idea of whether we're going to really get some cumulus or whether it's going to be blue all day. Sounding for further north and east up around the Bicester Buckingham area suggests the same. If dew points are down at about 6 or 7, then it's probably going to be blue. If dew points are 9 to 10, then you're going to get cumulus below 4,000 feet. So teetering on the balance really of blue or small amounts of cumulus. It said the same for the last couple of days, and we've had Q, and it finally dried itself out yesterday afternoon and went blue. So this is what Top Meteo are suggesting. That's 11 o'clock, clearing up. And then 12, 1 and 2, blue all day. Only cumulus out in the sort of Cambridgeshire area. I think that's probably because of the moisture coming off the North Sea and the wind direction. But thermal heights, they are suggesting by 1 o'clock, it's soarable up to over 3,000 feet, 1,200 meters, and then by mid-afternoon, around us, 1,400 meters in this area here. Still good down towards the south coast. And then into 5 o'clock, still the same, 1,500 meters, so 4,500 feet above sea level. Fingers crossed for that, if the temperature's right. And I've got this funny feeling we will actually see cumulus. I really can't believe that a passage of a cold front with a northeasterly flow won't give us cumulus, but the modelling is suggesting not. So reasonable length day, probably still soarable at 5 o'clock and beyond, but certainly a fairly fresh wind from a northerly direction, which will make it a bit challenging for people. Okay, so that's the Top Meteo suggested distance. Nothing into Cambridgeshire, mainly in the sort of central area here, or down to the south, as you can see. Right, on to airspace. And again, a very similar picture the last couple of days, not a lot has changed. Number 5 here is Southampton's hours of operation. They're beginning to pick up with their activity levels and aircraft going in and out, as I live under the flight path. 12:14 high intensity radio transmissions from Boscombe down, and they've just notified it that the size of the ATZ. 14 is clay pigeon shooting, which nothing to worry about. 16 is the Salisbury Plain danger area crossing service, which is not available due to not having the controllers to provide the service, or qualified controllers apparently. Number 17, nothing, just a cultural event. And then we move a bit further north. 13 is Lasham, 19 is the Reading Festival. Drones can't fly in that small circle. 24 is the activation of Fairford's ATZ, and the MATs will be active. 25 is the Junior Nationals. 30 is the Dunstable Regionals. Unlikely that anybody is going up any further than sort of Oxford, really. But if you did venture into East Anglia, air display at RAF Witton, and number 38 and 39 cover this. There's also a Red Arrows restricted area, temporary, during that air display. So I'll just run down to that. So 37, parachute jumping, 15:30 to 16:30 at RAF Witton. And then the restricted area temporary is 11:55 to 12:35 for the Red Arrows. And then they've got an air display running all day from 12 till 4 o'clock. So busy in that area, but really nothing else to note. Just a quick talk about operations, because we got the comp running. We've decided with the competition that we're going to actually go with a northerly wind and at times a slight northeasterly. We're going to go down the hill. We're going to launch to the west for the comp. They'll be operating on the runway. If they relight, it'll be generally on the south side of the airfield. And once they're gone, we'll obviously have our operation going 27 grass north side, and all club circuits will be to the north side. Once they're gone and there's no chance of relights, everybody's started on their task, we will probably swap back to a 09 operation, because all their finishers will be back in from the west anyway. So it just makes life easier for us and them, and it will be slightly more into wind component. One thing you've got to remember, it's a fairly fresh northerly wind, and getting behind the trees, it's going to be bumpy and turbulent taking off this way and landing. Saw a number of gliders yesterday, even in the light northerly breeze, get dumped onto the ground fairly promptly through the turbulence. So just be aware of that today, folks. Anticipated launch for the comp, I really don't know. Could be 12 o'clock-ish. It seems to be the norm for the last couple of days. We'll see how it goes. Right, get the kit out. The launch point vehicle is already set up, and we will see you out there.